Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nelo and you're watching Nelostitches. Thank you guys so much for always being here. To my returning subscribers, I love you guys. Thanks to the new ones, I love you too. Thank you so much. If you're new to my channel, please hit on the subscribe button below and subscribe, like and share my video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so as to be notified each time I upload new video. Today we'll be making this lovely dress. Is a shirt dress with a zipper front zip, and I made use of 2 yards of fabric for this. Okay, so my fabric is on fold. We'll be cutting the front and the back together. So this down one here is the front panel that has the zipper allowance of 1.5 inch. On fold is 3 inches. Okay, so it's on fold now, and the back panel is also on fold, and this is the open edge, the open side. Okay, so I have 4 pieces here. Okay, and this is my starting line. So to know the amount of fabric to fold is your highest or your biggest measurement plus extra 5 or 6 inches allowance. Okay, so I'm marking my armhole line, which is my chest line, also 8.5, and now I'm marking my waistline, which is 17. My normal waist is 18, so I decided to use 17 for this. You can as well use your underbust instead of your waistline, okay, for a proper fitting. And here I'm marking my waist to hip measurement, which is 9. I'm using 9 for my waist to hip measurement. And then right now I'm going to mark the length of the dress. Okay, so the length of the dress is 41, and I'm going to add 1 inch folding allowance, so I'm marking on 42. So you can use any length of your choice, and then you add your folding allowance. You can decide to use everything for your folding allowance. You can decide to use 4 inches for your folding allowance. Like some people like to see a lot of fabric inside when they fold their dress. When they fold their hem with the lining, they like to have a lot of fabric inside. Okay, so now I'm going to mark my neck width. The neck width I'm working with is my bust circumference divided by 12. Okay, my bust circumference divided by 12, what I have is 3.25, but I'm going to use 3.5 in my case. Okay, I'm going to use 3.5. So I later changed my mind. I used 3 inches deep for the front. Okay, but the width is 3.5 and the depth is 3 inches. And then the back panel, I'm going to use ½ inch for my neck depth. I use ½ inch for my neck depth for the back panel, and for the front neck depth I use 3 inches. The neck width is 3.5. Okay, so I'm going to connect with a curve this way. So this is the back panel. Okay, so remember, all your measurements should start from the back panel, not from the zipper allowance. Okay, start taking your measurements from the back panel, not from the zip allowance. So right now I'm going to mark my shoulder, divide by 4, and to that I'm going to add ½ inch for sleeve joining. So I'm adding the ½ inch right now. I forgot to do that earlier. So I'm adding ½ inch to my shoulder divided by 2, my across back divided by 2. My shoulder is 16, divided by 2 is 8. So I added ½ inch. I mark 8.5 right now, and I'm going to connect with a straight line. So next I'm going to slant my shoulder by 1 inch. I'll connect to the neck width like this. Next, I'm going to get the midpoint of this armhole line. This is the midpoint, and I'm going to go in by 0.5. This is for the front armhole. And next, I'm going to connect with a straight line. And before I curve my armhole, I need to mark my bust circumference, my round bust divided by 4. Okay, so to curve my armhole, I'll mark my round bust divided by 4. So my bust is 40, divided by 4 is 10. And I'm going to add 2 inches for ease, 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for sewing allowance. 2 inch for my allowance. Okay, so I'm going to curve my armhole right now. And here is the front armhole, and next I'm going to curve my back armhole. So this is the back armhole. Next, I'm going to mark my waist divided by 4, which is 9, plus 2 inches for 2 inches extra, 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for sewing allowance. On my hip line, I'll mark my hip divided by 4, my round hip divided by 4, plus 2 inches sewing allowance. Okay. And on the hemline, I'm going to measure what I have here. That is what I'm going to place on the hemline. Okay, exactly what you have on your hip, you're going to mark it on the hemline. Remember, I said don't start taking your measurements from your zipper allowance. Okay, don't take your measurements from your zipper allowance, take from the back panel. And now I'm going to connect all my points together like this. Okay, and I'll connect the down part with a straight line. You can just use your straight ruler if you don't have a curve ruler. So I'm going to connect from the waistline up to the armhole line like this. Okay, so I'm going to blend the waistline area so that it will not be too sharp. And guys, like I said before, you can use your under bust instead of your waist measurement. You can use your under bust instead of your waist measurement. Okay, so the next shirt dress I'm going to be making, I'm going to use my under bust so that you guys will see the difference, the fitting. Okay, you can use your under bust instead of your waist measurement. Okay, so I realized, or I remembered, I used 2.5 inch for the bust, the allowance. So I decided to minus half inch from there. I decided to use 2 inches instead of 2.5. The same goes to the waistline. Okay, I used 2.5, so I reduced half inch. That is why it's like that. So you use 2 inches for your allowance, 1 inch for ease, 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I first of all cut out the back neckline, and now I'm cutting out the front neckline, shoulder slant, and then the sides, the armhole and the side, and then you cut the hemline. Okay, so guys, I forgot that where I was actually marking was the back panel, so I needed to remark the front armhole because I was actually marking on the back panel. And of course, I am not going to cut the front armhole on the back panel, so I decided to remark the front armhole, and I'm covering it right now. Okay, so here it is. So in case if you're making yours, you can decide to mark your zipper allowance and then start taking your measurement or drafting from the front panel. Okay, you can just put the front panel on top of the back panel and then mark out your zipper allowance, connect it with a straight line before you start marking so that you will not make any mistake. Okay, so I just cut through the front panel because the front panel should be 2 because of the zipper, while the back panel should be 1. Okay, and right now I'm notching on my zipper allowance. Okay, so you cut your lining exactly as this fabric. The only difference between the lining and the fabric is that your lining should be 1 inch shorter than your main fabric. Okay, your lining should be exact length, not with your folding allowance. If you add 2 inches for your folding allowance, your lining should be 2 inches shorter than your main fabric. if that is, I hope that is clear enough. So here is the sleeve. So my armhole depth was 8.5, but I added half inch for allowance. I added 1 inch, sorry, for allowance. And this is the length I'm working with, 9 inches. My sleeve length is 14 inches, and I'll be minusing 8 inches for the main sleeve and 6 inches for this other pleat, the one I'll be using for the pleat. Okay, so I am using 14 inches for this, and as you can see, the fabric is on fold. I'm cutting the two together. So you get your dress, measure from this point to this point, whatever you have, you're going to mark here. So what I got there was 3. I marked 3.5, and this is my sleeve cap height. I'm going to connect the sleeve right now. Guys, I have a detailed tutorial on how to draft your basic sleeve. Please go check it out, okay? So I actually made a mistake. I was supposed to mark 9 inches instead of 8 inches because I'll be cutting out this savage. Okay, it's 9 here, but I'll be cutting out the savage. So the savage is exactly 8 inches. So I needed 1 inch allowance, half inch for joining of the sleeve to the dress, and half inch for joining of the pleat, this other fabric, to the sleeve. Okay, so I remarked it. Okay, so I went up by 1 inch, as you can see from the marking I made earlier. I went up by 1 inch. So I'm going to measure this. What I have 10, so I'm going to measure this to be sure. So here I have 9. So as you can see, the sleeve is even a bit longer than the this. So I'm marking my elbow divide by 2 plus 1 inch. Sorry, my bicep divide by 2 plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Here I'm marking the same thing plus 1 inch, and I'm going to connect this way. So I'll just cut this out. Bicep divide by 2 plus 1 inch. My bicep is 14, divided by 2 is 7, and then I added 1 inch for sewing allowance, which makes it 8. Okay, and our sleeve is ready. So this one I just cut out 1 inch length, so the length is 36. Okay, I'm just using 1 inch. The length is 36. As you guys can see, it's just 1 inch, so I did not use any particular measurements. I'm going to pleat it to fit into the sleeve. Okay, you fold the down part, then you pleat the upper part to fit into the sleeve. You pleat to fit into the sleeve. Okay, so but if you want to measure, you can use your elbow times 3. Okay, you can use your elbow times 3. So you just pleat it to fit into the sleeve. Okay, and we are done cutting the sleeve. So here is the dress. I'm going to open up. This is the back panel. Okay, I'm going to place them right sides facing each other, and here is the front panel. I'm going to place right sides facing the right side like this. Okay, and I'll join the two shoulders together. I'll join the shoulder, and I'll place this other one also, just match the neckline and the shoulder, and you also join the shoulder. And after that, I'm going to shape the side using the same allowance I added, which is 1 inch. I'm going to use that to shape the side. So any seam allowance you added, that is what you're going to use to shape. And guys, I'm done doing that. Here is the dress. I'm done shaping it, joining the armhole and shaping the sides. Okay, and for the zipper, I'm using a 1 inch long zip. Okay, this zip is 36 inches long. Okay, it's 36-inch long. As you can see, it's 36 inches long. I'm going to use that for my dress. So I'm going to fix the zipper to this dress first of all before the lining. Okay, I'm going to go fix my zipper. Guys, you know how to fix zip now. We are not doing a beginner or a tutorial. What will I even say? We know how to fix our zipper. Okay, so I'll just go and fix my zip to the front panel, starting from the tip, from the neckline. So anywhere the zip stops, it's fine. That place can be open for easy movement also. Okay, so I did the same thing I did to the dress on my lining. So here I'm done pleating this. Okay, so once you're pleating, you'll be checking. As you can see, my own does not fit. It's a little bit scanty, but this one fits. So I'm going to go and reduce the pleat on the other one. So if you're not using lining, after sewing, you just flip it over. After joining like this, you flip it over. But if you're using lining, you just have to place your lining on it like this, and then you sew. Okay, you sew and then you turn the lining to your main sleeve. So here I'm done fixing my zipper, as you can see. So here I left 1/2 inch sewing allowance that I will use to join my lining, turn the neckline with lining. Okay, so I left 1/2 inch up there that I used to turn the neckline. Okay, so I'm going to get my lining right now. This is the lining. You make sure you match the side seam together. Place your lining right side facing the right side of your dress, right side facing the right side of your fabric, and then you're going to sew from this tip to this other end. Okay, from one end to the other at the hemline. So we are turning the hemline now. So guys, I'm done doing that. Here I sewed with 1/2 inch. Okay, so next I'm going to pull the lining upward to the neckline, and I'm going to sew on the neckline also. I'm going to turn the lining. Make sure you match the two shoulders together. Make sure you take note of that. Match the two shoulders together, and then you sew around your neckline with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, you turn your neckline with 1/2 inch. Make sure to match the shoulders together. Then you turn with 1/2 inch. After that, you're going to open it up this way and top stitch on the lining. Okay, so let's assume here is the neckline. I'm done turning. You're just going to flip it this way, open it this way, and top stitch on the lining like this, so that your neckline will stay in place. Okay, so that it will be flat as possible, and you know you have to iron it. Okay, and then after that, you're going to sew the side, the center front, the zipper side. You sew from this point down to the hemline. Make sure you're catching the zipper. Don't sew too close to the first zipper seam. Okay, I'll show you what I mean later. You do the same thing to the other side. So guys, here is the sleeve. I have torn it with lining, and I top stitch on the sleeve. I hold the lining and the main fabric together so that they will be one. Okay, so this is it, and here is the second sleeve. So guys, I forgot to do something. Remember, we marked our armhole differently. The front and the back armhole is not the same. So I forgot to trim out 1/2 inch from one side of my armhole. So that is what I am doing right now. I marked the middle point, and now I'm trimming out 1/2 inch from one side of my armhole like this. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out, and this will serve as my front armhole. Okay, this will serve as my front armhole. So you trim out one side of your armhole, your sleeve armhole. Okay, so that it will rhyme with your dress armhole. So as you can see, one side is deeper than the other, so that part is going to serve as the front. So I need to chalk it so that I will not make a mistake. So you chalk it so that you will know where your front falls and where your back falls. Then you're going to shape your sleeve with your 1 inch seam allowance. Do the same to the other one. Shape with your seam allowance. Okay guys, so I'm done turning the dress. As you can see, this is the hemline is 1 inch shorter, and here is the neckline. I sew and I notched, and then I top stitch on the lining. Okay, I top stitched on the lining, and this is the zipper area. Like I said, you sew very close, not too close or not on top of the first zipper seam. You sew very close to it. As you can see, did you see that? It's just like 0.25 inch apart, and you're going to turn this out from your armhole. You turn this out from your armhole, so the only place that will be that you need to overlock is your armhole and your sleeve side. Okay, it's only the armhole and the sleeve that we need to overlock. If not, every other part is as neat as the right side of the fabric. Okay, so you make sure you turn properly and then you iron this out. Okay, so did you see how neat it is on the inside and the outside? So all I need to do now is take this to the ironing table and give it a very good press. Give it a very good press. Okay, and after this, the next thing you need to do is to fix your sleeve. You go fix your sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to zip this up so that you guys can see how beautiful it looks. Okay, can you see how neat? And when you flip the inside, you're going to see the same neat result inside. So this is it. So neat. Thank you guys for watching. Just go and fix your sleeve, and that's all for this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe to my channel if you're new. Like and share this video. Bikono, I beg, bikono, like, oh, just support this channel by liking, subscribing, and I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. I love you guys. Bye.